Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents A Bargain with the Shadow Prince by Genevieve Jack, narrated by Lexi Evans and John William Maddux. 1. Soulless. Eloise. My attorney's nail polish is the same color as her hair, a shiny black called Soulless made by Skull and Thistle, a beauty brand that caters to a woman's inner goth. I know this because Maeve Gowdy Esquire is also my best friend, and I saw the bottle of polish the night I was curled in the fetal position on her floor. At the time, I thought things couldn't get any worse than having to move in with my grandmother to escape my abusive husband. I was wrong. Can you repeat that? I heard her well enough, but don't want to believe what she's saying. Tony wants the house, Eloise. Your house. Harcourt Manor. My eyelashes flutter like dying butterflies against my cheeks, and a tiny muscle below my right eye starts to twitch. Has all the air left the room? My necklace is suffocating me. With trembling fingers, I slide the drop pearl back and forth along its chain, making room between it and my throat. That can't be right. That house belongs to my Grams. Not legally, it doesn't. From her leather chair behind an enormous walnut desk, Maeve retrieves some paperwork, the skeleton mermaid tattoo on her arm swimming with her movement. She turns a page toward me. When your parents were killed, you were named beneficiary of the property, but you were under 18, so your grandmother took ownership as your legal guardian. The title reverted to you on your 18th birthday, even though your Grams continued living there and you did not. Ordinarily, under Virginia law, inherited property isn't considered marital property, but Tony made substantial renovations. But he insisted! I protest. A freak sinkhole threatened the foundation. Our neighbor's house was condemned because of it. I didn't even ask Tony for help. I wasn't even living with Grams at the time to understand the extent of it. He just had it fixed. The workers had to bring in heavy machinery to make it safe again. Well, that heavy machinery was expensive, and because Tony substantially contributed to the property's value, he can now claim it as marital property. The bastard wants it all, and one of his lawyers told me he's willing to go the distance. This is heading to court unless you can buy out his share of the property, which is $500,000. A strangled squeak escapes my throat. It's like I've reached the end of a roller coaster, rattled and nauseated, only to find the lap bar is stuck and the attendant says I'll have to ride again. I grip the armrests of my chair until my knuckles turn white and send a pleading glance across the desk to Maeve. How is that possible? Property values have increased considerably since your great-grandparents settled in Echo Mills, especially on the river. I clear my throat. I don't have that kind of money. From behind the thick rim of her glasses, Maeve's dark gaze flicks to the corner of her office. Her voice is soft as she says, I know. She understands better than anyone. I'm broke. Tony is loaded, and we'd shared an account when we were married. But I no longer have access to a dime of that money, thanks to an ironclad prenuptial agreement he insisted I sign. I can't even afford Maeve. She's representing me pro bono. I'm also unemployed, thanks to Tony. He made me quit my job as an art teacher 6 months into our marriage to focus on managing the household. What a joke. We have no children. We don't even have a dog. But I quit in an attempt to be someone he could love. Turns out nothing could fix what was broken between us. It's been a week since I left and moved in with Grams. Harcourt Manor is the only reason I'm not sleeping on the street. Now he wants to take that too. My heart thumps faster. This is happening. Tony cheated with his secretary. Tony struck me twice. Tony dominated the last 2 years of my life. Tony is rearing his reptile fangs and attempting to snatch my ancestral home right out from under me. I scoot to the edge of my chair and rest my wrists on her desk. My hands are trembling so violently I have to couple them like I'm about to pray. Honestly, that's exactly what I should be doing. I can't move my grandmother. It's not an option. Maeve sets down her pen and leans across the desk to cradle my fingers in hers. I know this is awful, Al. Your Grams has lived in that house her entire life. I remember her stories about giving birth to your father in one of the guest rooms. I was the first child born in a hospital. She licks her bottom lip. This isn't fair, but if Tony wins the property, he has to pay you for your portion. You and Grams could get a nice place for $500K. It's not just that. Denial is a comfort I can no longer afford, and I spill the news I haven't been able to bring myself to tell her until now. The cancer is back, and it's in her bones. Grams is dying. She started in-home hospice care this week. Maeve's already pale complexion turns ashen. Oh, Eloise. Tears well and spill over my lower lashes, even though I hold my breath in an attempt to control them. Frantically, Maeve tugs tissues from the box on her desk and hands me the wad. I bury my face in them. When I speak again, I have to force the words past the massive lump in my throat. If it were just me, I'd leave. I love the place, and it would kill me to lose that connection to my parents. But I'd survive. Grams? She wants to die there. She wants to be buried next to my parents in the family cemetery. I won't let him take that from her. Please tell me there's a way to stop him. Maeve's expression shifts into the determined, more than a little intimidating one I've come to love over the years we've been friends. She's scary as hell when she wants to be, and not just because she looks like the spawn of Wednesday Addams and Machine Gun Kelly. Her normally chocolate-colored eyes turn as dark as her nails with her anger. I hug myself against a sudden chill and cast a glance toward the window. A storm has moved in. It's always this way with Maeve. Answer me honestly. She glares at me. Does Tony know your Grams is sick? I chew my lip. He does. The cancer came back a few months ago, although Grams didn't tell me until recently how serious it was. I paid a few of her medical bills from our joint account before I moved out, stuff that wasn't covered by Medicare. I give a sarcastic snort. God, please don't tell me that gives him a right to half of her, too. Maeve bristles at my dark humor. Fuck, I hate that guy. I really do. I blot my face with the massive tissues. I know. She wrinkles her nose. Do you? Because I tried to hide it before, even when you started wearing. She gestures toward my dress. I sniff. What's wrong with what I'm wearing? She touches the tip of her tongue to the corner of her blood-red lips. It's just a lot of beige, hon. Beige with tiny flowers that match the darker beige of my pumps. Her attention darts to my bleached hair and then down to my ballet pink nail polish. The hair, the nails. The way her head tilts and her eyes narrow make me feel like an abandoned flea-ridden kitten. The pearls. Indignant, I raise my chin a full inch. I'll have you know the shade of nail polish was a favorite of the Queen of England. It's very sophisticated, and pearls never go out of style. The Queen died years ago, at the age of 96. You're 25. Maeve folds her arms. You wouldn't have been caught dead in that before you met him. She has a point. Over the years I was with Tony, I changed almost every aspect of myself to meet his standards, including my wardrobe. It was never enough. I appreciate your help. I really do. But the last thing I'm worried about at the moment is my outfit. Right. She drums her fingers on her biceps. He's just taken so much from you. I can't remember the last time I saw you smile. And your art. How long has it been since you painted anything? The gall of that man. When I think about the woman you were when you met him. She's right about the smile and the art, but that's not the whole story. I was a kid with a death wish. Tony took me under his wing and forced me to get serious about my life. If it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have my teaching degree. You would have done fine without him. You were an accomplished artist by then. One big break from being as big as your mom. It's true, I had a bright future as an artist before my parents died. But Tony made me see how impractical a career in the arts is. Besides, I could barely pick up a paintbrush from grief after I lost them. A teaching degree just made more sense. And if it wasn't for him, you'd still be using it, she snaps. I shrink at the harsh truth, and her face softens. I'm just appalled on your behalf. I know. I blink back another onslaught of tears. Just tell me what can be done about the house. She reclines in her leather chair, elbows on the armrests and fingers steepled over her lap. A dark queen on her throne. There are a few legal avenues I can try, but honestly, your best bet would be to convince him to back off. Can you confront him? Maybe guilt him into letting the house go. I don't think it would end well. I hug myself against an inner quake that leaves me clammy. You think he'll hit you again? Tony doesn't like to be confronted. He almost broke my jaw while we were married. I hate to think what he'd do now that we're getting divorced. I won't rule out trying, but I'd be lying if I said he doesn't scare me. Fucking asshole. Maeve heaves a deep sigh. Any way to manipulate him? Got any dirt on the bastard? Nothing I can prove. She shoots me a knowing glance. Maeve has long suspected Tony is involved with organized crime, but if he is, he never admitted as much to me, even when things were good. She sighs. Then I think there's only one way to guarantee Tony doesn't win Harcourt Manor. How? Magic. I swear I see her eyes twinkle behind her glasses. What? Magic? The word comes out strangled. Is she joking? She leans toward me. Come on, Eloise. You must have suspected over the years. That time we went camping and it rained on everyone else's tent but ours. Our grades on that calculus exam neither of us studied for. The tea I gave you that helped you lose 5 pounds the night before your wedding. I inhale sharply. All those things were weird, but... Are you implying that you made those things happen? She gathers her raven black hair into a twist, holds it in place with one hand, as her other forms an L with her thumb and forefinger and circles the knot 3 times. She removes her hands and turns so I can see. It's secured in a perfect updo without the benefit of a single hairpin. My heart jackhammers in my chest as I try to deny what is right in front of me, while knowing in my heart that it is the truth. Knowing in the back of my mind that I suspected, maybe not magic, but something. Knowing, like everything else today, that this is really happening. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you ask? Maeve smooths her hand along the edge of the desk. Goddess knows, it wouldn't have been the craziest question you've ever asked me. So you're I can't say it. A witch. Like a Wiccan or something? I try to get my head around it and can't. I think of witches the same way I do Tibetan monks. I know they exist, but I've never actually met one. At least I thought I hadn't before today. And aside from a few suspect videos I've watched online, I have no reason to believe the ones that do exist can make their hair levitate. No, a witch as in the magical sense. She shakes her head. Magic is real, Elle, and I can wield it. Slowly, I lick my lips. My muscles are sore and tense from processing everything, and I rub the place where my shoulders meet my neck. What exactly can you do? Enough. She cuts the word short like it's all the explanation I'm going to get. But there's one thing I have to know. Can you heal my Gramps? No, she says immediately. I'm sorry. I wish I could. But healing something like cancer, especially when the disease has progressed, is not within the Gowdy wheelhouse. It's a family thing? You're all, I still can't say it. Witches. We're all witches. Even your dad? I raise an eyebrow. Her father is a khaki-wearing accountant who looks about as magical as a swing-line stapler. She lowers her voice. He can brew a potion that would make Tony sleep through his 50th birthday. I lean in. Seriously? Is that what you're proposing? She waves a hand dismissively. No, I mean, it would work, but it's too close to home. Too risky. We need plausible deniability here. A third party to handle the situation at a time when both of us are accounted for. Do you have someone in mind? She folds her hands beneath her chin. That depends. What are you willing to do to save your house? I scoff. What am I not willing to do? I'll do anything. Anything. Maeve's mouth bends into a wicked grin, and her dark hair falls from its twist, landing in perfect waves around her shoulders. Good. Then I know someone who can help you, for a price. I toy with the pearl around my neck again. I can't afford much. He won't want money. Then what kind of price? Her dark brows rise above the rim of her glasses. Exactly what you have to offer, Eloise, and you're going to give it to him. 2. The Spell. Eloise. I'm 1000% sure I'm not comfortable with this. Once again, I perused the items in the box Maeve gave me that morning, then popped the cork on some rosé and drank straight from the bottle. When she'd asked me what I was willing to do to save Harcourt Manor, I assumed certain logical boundaries. No one was going to ask me to charge through a fur-packed wardrobe into the magical land of Narnia because that wasn't real. It didn't exist, right? Never assume. The spell Maeve told me to perform will conjure a supernatural advocate, a creature she claims will handle Tony and save my house. Only, the details about said advocate are rather nebulous, and the directions, clutched in my sweaty palm, are far crazier than I could have ever predicted. Each tick of the grandfather clock reverberates in my head as the gold hands inch toward 12. It has to be done at midnight, she explained, when the veil between the living and the dead is thinnest, and the ghosts of my ancestors can help amplify the spell. I take another nip from the bottle before setting it down on the triangular Art Deco end table beside me, careful to center it on a coaster. I remember a time when I wouldn't have given the wood finish a second thought, but those carefree days are long behind me. I'm in the front parlor of Harcourt Manor, perched on the edge of an ancient green velvet sofa. This room was decorated by my great-grandfather Henry Harcourt in the 1920s. He was a photographer who traveled the world before settling in Virginia, and this room is filled with the spoils of his adventures. Tick, tick, tick. The antique clock in the corner won't let me forget exactly what time it is. The ticking is annoying as hell, an audible accounting of the seconds of my life passing by. 10 minutes until showtime. Fuck. I pace the room at the edge of the circular symbol I've drawn to Maeve's specifications in chalk on the wood floor. Its diameter is as wide as I am tall, and it's divided by a pentagram, the lines of which bear the shaky evidence of my trepidation concerning this plan. I hope to God its construction is good enough for the spell to work. Opening the box again, I bring it nearer to the fire for a better look. Shadows dance across the contents. Inside, a dingy yellowing candle stub stinks of beeswax, incense, and dust, the scent of an ancient church or maybe a tomb. Beside the candle is a knife, its bone handle giving way to a curved blade. Clutching the collar of my pink bathrobe tighter under my chin, I reread the instructions. Light the candle. Stand naked before the symbol. Offer your blood. Why does there have to be cutting involved? I place the box on the mantel and cross the room to take another swig of the wine. It doesn't help. I'm afraid there's not enough liquid courage in the world to make this easy. Gong. The clock chimes. Midnight. I'm out of time. I abandon the wine, rush back to the box, and position the candle at the head of the symbol. Grabbing matches off the mantel, I fumble for one and strike it against the gritty strip along the side of the box. Gong. When it doesn't light, I steady my hands and strike again, relieved when I hear a chiff and the match head sparks to life. Bending carefully, I touch it to the wick, my heart thundering. The flame burns black. What the actual fuck? I toss the match into the fireplace. Gong. Stand naked before the symbol. With a deep breath, I shrug out of my robe, letting the fluffy cotton pool around my ankles. I glance at the wall of windows behind me and the red oak whose gnarled branches wave in the breeze beyond. Harcourt Manor stands at the end of 20 acres of remote land and borders a cliff overlooking the Rappahannock River. No one will see me, but I can't help feeling exposed. Gong. A chill snakes through the room, tightening my nipples to hard peaks. I thank my lucky stars Grams is a heavy sleeper. I'd die if she walked in right now. I snatch the blade from the box and extend my hand over the candle. Gong. What am I doing? Cutting myself? Fuck, this is messed up. Gong. I close my eyes. This is for Grams, for my parents' memory, for the ancestors who are buried near the forest behind this house. I take a deep breath. Gong. I slice across the fleshy heel of my palm. Blood pools in the hollow. I turn my wrist and let it dribble onto the edge of the symbol. Gong. Everything tilts and the world takes on a dreamy quality, but I know I'm awake because my hand throbs. My eyes bulge as the chalk rises off the wood, the symbol twinkling like it's constructed of tiny stars. The lamp on the end table flickers and goes dark. Gong. A bolt of lightning illuminates the yard outside the window. Is it even raining? I swear I see a figure standing next to the red oak tree, a decisively male silhouette, massive in stature. Someone is watching me. Lightning strikes again and the figure is gone. Gong. With only the fire to light the room, I can't trust my eyes as shadows gather in the corners. Thick, smoky masses that tangle, then close in, bleeding into the symbol. The scent of dark spice overwhelms me. Gooseflesh marches up my arms. If the clock chimes again, I can't hear it over the pounding of my heart. All that darkness coalesces into a great black beastly form with demonic horns, wings, and a barbed tail. But as the thick smoke becomes corporeal, something else takes shape. A pair of leather shoes, black slacks straining over thick thighs, tapered hips, a narrow waist that widens into a broad chest, heavily muscled shoulders, corded arms. He's dressed in a loose white shirt, ordinary enough, but there is nothing ordinary about the face that forms from the ether. He is stunning, a dark-haired angel, a marble sculpture brought to life. This is the advocate? God, the man is huge, 6'4" if I had to guess, and built like he chops wood for a living. Menace bleeds off him, even before I see his scowl. And when he turns brilliant silver eyes on me that seem to glow in the dim light, I almost wet myself. My throat gives a loud reflexive gulp. I offer my cut hand, trembling hard enough to cause the blood to spill and force out a raspy plea. I need your help. He takes a step toward me, his mouth bending into a look of disgust as he scans me as if I've climbed out of the sewer. You are no gouty witch. His voice reminds me of the sound of the struck match. My chest rises and falls too quickly, and I attempt to slow my breathing so I can speak. Maeve prepared me for this. In a strong voice, I declare, I perform this spell by the power of Maeve Gowdy. He sneers, studying me. My pulse races under his scrutiny, my breath coming fast again. This man of shadows, this advocate, whatever he is, an aura of intensity surrounds him. Undeniably beautiful, there's a shrewdness in his eyes and a hollowness to his cheeks that's hungry, wanting. The way he studies me makes me want to run. Your heart is fluttering like a sparrow's, he says, staring at my neck. I feel his gaze like cool fingers pressed to my pulse. Maeve should know better than to allow little birds to call on me. I'm not. What is it you need, little bird? His face is suddenly close, and I make out the glistening tips of two pearly white fangs peeking from below a full upper lip. My breath catches. Oh, my God. I glance down at the blood dripping from my hand, still hovering over the black flame of the candle. Has Maeve given me a spell to call a... Are you a vampire? I blurt the question even as a new prickling chill coasts over my skin. He draws back, lids narrowing. Are you a human? Is this why you called me? To talk about what we are and what we aren't? Do you want pictures of my coffin? He rolls his eyes. I hate to disappoint you. I don't sleep in one. Now, take that candle and return it to Miss Gowdy and remind her that I am only bound to serve her direct bloodline. The edges of his elbows start to blur. Shit! He's leaving! I fist my hands and find my voice, even as my heart threatens to break through my ribcage. Please, I'm sorry if I offended you. I don't care what you are or who you are bound to serve. I need your help. And if we could come to an arrangement... I thrust my bloody hand toward him again. His smoky outline solidifies. Nostrils flaring, his gaze darts to my hand. The sparrow is willing to make a deal with the serpent in her tree. His laugh is grit and cinder. You're either brave or a fool. Neither, I blurt, flustered. I'm desperate. Maeve lent me the candle because my ex-husband, well, my husband still, I suppose, we're going through a divorce. He's abusive. Physically and emotionally abusive. My God, it's like talking to a statue. He stares down a blade-straight nose at me, an impenetrable scowl on his face. At least he isn't leaving. I take that as a sign to keep going. After he hit me the second time. What is your name? Eloise Harcourt. Are you asking me to exact vengeance against this man for abusing you while you sleep in his...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?